Hey everybody, this is a video I've been thinking about doing for a little bit, comparison video. I couldn't get it done because I was in the middle of painting something with one of the palettes and I didn't want to stop and start over. So here we are. And another one came in the mail, and that's what kind of got me going on this. I have a hobby problem where I tend to throw money at problems instead of fixing things probably. Where I'm like, oh, there's a new cool tool, I'll try and do that and go ahead and buy it. Amazon makes it so easy, which is probably my biggest problem. So what I did was each palette that I had, I kind of had a something I didn't like about it. And I have not tried the Army Painter one yet, and that's kind of what this is going to be. So here's the palettes that I have. And the first one I had, let me put these off to the side. And we'll go into the testing parameters here in a minute. This is the first one I had, which is the Mastersons Sta-Wet handy palette. And I like this one. I like this one. What I don't like about it is two things. One, the yellow sponge, which brings me to the other problem, which is that the yellow sponge, when you use parchment paper, or you can see the yellow sponge through the parchment paper when it's wet. Not so much the paper that comes with it, which is the first problem I don't like. The paper that comes with it, I found tends to like fall apart, for the lack of a better word. I don't know if I'm the only one that has this problem, but the fibers seem to come off after a while you're painting, and they ended up in my paint, and then you're kind of cleaning them off as you're working. So that's what started leading me down the path of like, well, maybe there's a better one out there. And all I could find at the time was this one. And around that time, the Redgrass Games Everlasting Wet Palette Kickstarter started. So that's what this. That was the first one. Then I'm like, well, let me try that. So I did the Kickstarter for the Everlasting Wet Palette from Redgrass Games. It's right there. Can you see it? Kind of, maybe. So this one, it came in two sizes. I went with the smaller one. And I've been using it kind of ever since. And then I've combined it with the Mastersons one, and I'll explain that. So the problem I had with this one is, and I put right now, let's go over the parameters first. I'm going to be putting a brand new sponge and paper in each of them. So first problem I had with this one is, and I even emailed Redgrass Games about it, and I never heard back. I emailed or messaged through the Kickstarter, never heard back. So I've been kind of using it ever since. So the problem I had is I don't get a great seal. And if you can hear this, wait, it doesn't seem to seal right. And I don't know if it's me, but I just can't get a good seal with it. And it seems like the paint dries out quicker than it should. It's called the Everlasting Wet Palette. So I don't know if it's me or if I got a defective one that they've now since fixed with newer versions since the Kickstarter, which could be entirely possible. Plus, I usually probably don't use the band as much as I probably should. We'll talk about that later. So what I did end up doing was taking the sponge and paper from this and putting it inside the Mastersons. Let me kind of show you what I was doing. I was using this way and then putting this on top. And it kept it super wet, and the seal on this one works great. Like, I haven't had a problem with paint drying out in here. In fact, the opposite, you tend to build up mold a lot quicker, which I did read a trick finally of putting copper in there, copper penny or copper wire to cut down that. I was using a little bit of Simple Green to clean it out first, and that kind of helped. So didn't have to worry about it. So as I was doing this, I was like, well, this is kind of ridiculous at this point that I'm using the two palettes together. And then I saw the Army Painter one, which I have not used yet. I don't know anything about it. I've opened it and looked at it. I want to go back to this one for a second. The cool thing I do like about the Redgrass one is those the magnetized little paint cups that go on the side. Those are cool. paint sticks in them a little easy or a little hard. It's hard to clean them out, but again, probably just me. So that's that. So that brings me to the Army Painter one. So that's this Redgrass. The Army Painter one comes with a band just like that. It has a lid. It has this plastic insert, which I think acts as a seal and also as a paintbrush holder and some other stuff. So that's how this works. The sponge looks very similar to the Redgrass Games one. It feels similar. The paper is a bit different size. Here's the weird thing about this, and I have not activated this sponge yet, so I don't know what's going on, but this paper is a lot bigger than the sponge, which I think is a little strange. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I'm already kind of worried about this one because I don't know if you can see that, but that doesn't look like a wonderful seal either. Maybe I'm being crazy picky, but who knows? So here's what I want to do. I am going to let these, I'm going to give you, I'm going to show you with my phone. Today is Monday the 4th at about 7:30, a little after. Monday the 4th of May at 7:30. I don't know. I was trying to show you the date on my phone so I didn't look like a liar. But someone, of course, sent me a message in the middle of that, which I don't want on there. And so I'll show you again. Monday, May 4th. Okay. So Monday, May 4th. I'm going to set these up each exactly the same way according to their specifications. And I'm going to let them sit sealed until Friday. And then see which one kind of worked the best. Probably not very scientific, but the best I can do. Couple things first. These are the sponges. Like I said, I'm going to use brand new sponges and papers on all of them, so there is no like anything. This is the old sponge that came out of my Mastersons. It's still in pretty good shape after using it for quite a while. It's been in there. So that's that. This one is the Redgrass one. So now it's dried up, so it's all wrinkly. But I don't know if you can see, but it's starting to deteriorate. It's starting to come apart. And it's kind of flaking off, which I just noticed today getting ready for this video. There's some little white bits on my hand. So these sponges, this sponge does not last as long as I thought it was going to. Nowhere near as much as the Mastersons one. So maybe that's something to look into too. They've probably, again, these are sponges from the Kickstarter, so they may have updated them since. But this is an original Kickstarter sponge. The one cool thing that I've kind of learned on my own is this. Now, this came from, I had 2 Amazon Fire tablets, and they came with the, no screen protector. So I bought the screen protector separately, and it gives you this squeegee thing to squeegee out the air bubbles. And I'm like, well, I'm going to save that. It works great for the wet palette, for the 2 that I've tried it on so far. It really helps get the air bubbles out and smooth it out instead of using it with your fingers. So if you can, try and find a piece of rubber like this or a squeegee of some sort. It really helps. Okay, on to what I got to do. So the Mastersons one, the paper says you have to soak it for 15 minutes prior. So that's what I've been doing back here in this bowl is I have soaked the paper for 15 minutes. All right. So that's sitting there. So I'm going to do the Mastersons one first. So I'm just going to dunk all their sponges into those and get them right. And I'm going to set them up. So this sponge, Mastersons one's the extra sponges you have to cut. So let me just get this in here. And it says don't wring it out. So I'm not going to wring it out. Put it in there. Just kind of get it in there, smooth it down. I'm not putting any of the copper or pennies in there. Okay. So now I'm going to take that paper, just kind of drip dry it. The corner might not be as wet as it should. I'm going to put that on top. Okay. Now here's where get this pulled up just a little. Now the paper they have fits like it is tight. It's the size of the. So I'm going to kind of use this. This is what I use this for, and it works great. Okay, and I'm just going to put that there. All right, for now, putting the lid on it. I will be putting paint on all these. So I'm just going to kind of get that out of the way for now. Okay, that's that. Put it there. Okay, let's do Redgrass next. And I dropped it. All right, Redgrass next. Same thing. This one they said do not dunk the paper, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to fully submerge that sponge. I'm going to bring it over here so you can see it. Fully submerge that sponge until it's flexible, expands a bit. First time using it, straight out of the package. You can kind of feel it getting, there we go. Takes a bit. Okay, that took longer than I thought it was going to. This is pretty boring. I don't know why that's not in focus anymore. Okay, now kind of squeezing it underwater. A little bit. Getting ready. Okay, so now let's get this here. Get all the air out of it. It definitely expands in size, but it still doesn't cover up the entire palette base, which is okay. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to flop that in there. Okay. Now, what I normally do, to be fair, I'm going to do it my normal way, is I take, once it's in there, I don't know why that's, I don't want anyone saying, hey, you didn't have it fully wet. So let me finish that. Just kind of squeezing it. That's air coming out. I think that's better. Definitely. Okay. All right. All this water and electricity is starting to scare me. That's better. So to be fair, so here's what I do every time I use it. I have my squirt bottle of water and I fill up the edges. So at least I can see water kind of floating around on the edges. Now it looks like the sponge is soaking up some of that, which is fine. But I want water on there. So you can kind of see there's water moving around. Everybody see that? Might be, someone might say too much, but I'm going to leave it there. And I'm going to just place this on top. Well, let me straighten it out. My OCD is kicking in. Okay. So put this in. Push that down. Now it curls. And where did my... Oh, why do I always misplace things? I am the worst. Where could it have gone? Of course. It's probably... What? Are you serious? If someone sees it on camera, let me know. Okay, so oh, I'm an idiot. All right, so same thing. Smoothing it out, getting the wrinkles out, nice and perfect. Now, there's no water on top. It's all kind of underneath. All right. Perfectly smooth. There we go. Putting the lid on. Okay. Setting it to the side. Now, army painters. They have a couple different things here. So let's take that off. Take this off. Now I'm wondering how much this is going to expand, because it is a huge size difference than the paper. So let's see what we can do here. If you look, I mean, that's quite a bit. So this one, it got bigger. It feels similar to the Redgrass sponge. Maybe not as thick. Definitely kind of activated quicker than the other sponge. It is a white color, whereas Redgrass is gray. And so let's do this. Move this to the side. See how much it changed. Actually, that changed quite a bit in terms of size. Still feel like there's some spots in there. Pushing them out. I think these first time using it is when it's harder to get them going. Okay. So straight out of the bowl. I was thinking of making my own and comparing it to these, but I chose not to. All right. So the paper does get to be roughly the same size. So same thing, let's use this. This paper wrinkles a lot more. Huh. I don't know if you can see that. The other ones did not wrinkle that bad. I don't like that. It feels very parchment papery. It's a lot thinner. Weird. I'm going to take some water on top to kind of see if I can smooth these out. Man, that wrinkle's tough. Whoa. Definitely not a problem with the other ones. This one wrinkles quite a bit, which I don't like. So this is going to take me a bit. Ugh. And that's where this tool is coming in handy. Man, the paper's bigger than the, you can see that. It's bigger than the tray. So this is my first time using, like I said, the Army Painter wet palette. And this could be something I figure out later. It's getting better. Those wrinkles are going as it gets wet. And I'm going to do the same thing, to be fair to Army Painter. I'm going to squirt some water around those edges. And I'll add some to the Mastersons one too. Okay. That, I think, is the best I'm going to get. Feels different than the other papers for sure. Okay, so there's water floating around there. Okay, all right. So, get this up and out of the way. This video's getting a bit long. So I'm going to take each one and I'm going to put the same color paints and do the same thing with all of them. Okay. Now, so I think I'm going to do it white because they end up getting chalky after a while. So I think get a good mix here of Vallejo white brush for now. Nope, wrong brush. I'll use this. A white, Vallejo white, black, and I was thinking a red. Mephiston red, so a Games Workshop brand, Citadel. So we have different brands on there. Let's try a yellow. Let's do red, yellow, blue. Let's do some primary colors. This is from, and this is the old brand too. This is Pro Acro from Creature Caster. That's where I got it. And what other brands do I have? Anything? No. Let's do blue. Okay. So, oh no, you know what? I'm going to use this Deep Ocean. It's a different brand. It's from Reaper. So these are the colors. We're going to use something from pretty much every company. So let's start with a drop of black on each one. I'm going to push this. Oh, I said I was going to add some to the Mastersons to make it fair. Okay. So I'm going to put a drop of black. Drop of black. Drop of black. I'm going to put a drop of yellow. And that thing just broke. Okay. Drop of yellow. Drop of yellow. Drop of yellow on each. Drop of this Deep Ocean from Reaper. And then some of this, use this brush, some Mephiston red, which I'm going to have since it's okay. It's about the same on all of them, right? I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to take some glaze medium from Vallejo. I'm going to put a drop near the red. 3 drops. Okay. And I'm going to kind of, what you would normally do is kind of make a glaze and take some and kind of blend it out, right? So let me pretend like I had done that and blend that into each. Right away, it feels like the Army Painter is allowing more moisture through, just on feel. So, yeah. All right, so I'm going to seal them up. The two that have bands, I'm going to use the bands. Everyone see that? I sealed that up. I'm going to use the band. Sealed. The Army Painter has the paintbrush holder that goes on top. Push that down. Then push this on top of that. A lot of work for a wet palette. And then put this band across. All right. Mastersons is just done. So what I'm going to do, the next time you see me, it will be Friday, May, I don't know, something. Talk to you later. I'm back and it's still May 4th. I've encountered a problem. What? So what did I do wrong? Is this... I don't even know. So this is the Army Painter one. Did I put it upside down? It's not supposed to go that way. The brush parts go up. I'm guessing that's what I did wrong. But I didn't think the brush, you would want the brushes. Does this work without it? Nope, it doesn't work without it. So I'm guessing that's frustrating. Army Painter, what am I doing wrong? Please let me know when you see this video. Is that supposed to go that way? All right, so I'm guessing it goes that way. That's not good. So let me get that wiped off. Let me get that wiped off. And so that kind of messed with my drops. So I'm going to put some touch more on there. The rest should be okay. Man. Anyway, I also forgot to put in the white. Why didn't someone tell me? So I'm going to put a drop of white in each. And I'm going to put this on this way, which seems strange, but I guess I did it wrong. I will learn. There was probably directions that I didn't read or read and forgot. So strange. So that's the Army Painter. Let me get that slid to the middle. Mastersons, redoing. Okay. That one you can hear the seal. You can hear the air come out. And then redo this, put my drop of white in there. And seal this up. The reason I checked is I went to put the white in, but I forgot, and I saw that paint all over that red part. Anyway, now, the next time you'll see me will be Friday. Hey everybody, I'm back. It is... I know. It's been a while. I am back. It is... Let me do my proof positive. It is May 8th, Friday, 6:44. So there we are with that. We're back to open up the wet palettes to see what happened. So without further ado, let's start with the one we did first. I'll move these off to the side. And let's open up the Mastersons first. So let me back this up just a little bit and see where we are. Okay, so I have not opened these. They've been sitting over there, and I can't remember if I mentioned it before. I live near Chicago. I'm in the Chicago area. Probably sound like it a bit, but from Chicago. The weather has not been humid. It has not been dry. It's been kind of in the middle. It's been kind of nice. Today it got kind of cold. It rained a day, I think, if I remember. So it's not like these things have been sitting in super dry weather, and I'm in a basement. So take that what you will in terms of humidity. So opening. Where are we? So the touch, still very wet. Okay, so Mastersons, let's get up in there. Let's try this. The medium has gone little gel. Okay, so we got that. The yellow that hasn't been touched, completely chunky. Okay. I'm drying off the brush each time. Blue, not too bad actually. Not too bad at all. The blue kind of stayed, and that was a Reaper color. The yellow was from the Creature Caster ones. This white Vallejo. Let's see. Little chunky, but you could reactivate that and use that probably no problem. Might not want to, but who knows. All right, black. Same thing, still moist. You can still move it around. Not chunky that much. But you can see it bled into the paper a bit. Now, the corners did dry out. They weren't super wet when I got it. There's still, you can see that there's still water pouring out of there. So, not all the water dried up for sure. So that's good. This is the one I had already used with the medium. And that still kind of comes together pretty nicely. So, not too bad. Not too bad at all. So, but again, the problem I have with this is the paper. Over time, as you use your brush, the fibers tend to come out, which has always been my problem. And if I kind of rub my finger on it, you can almost start to feel the paper coming apart. And I don't know. I don't know what to think yet. So that's that. That's the Mastersons. Let's set that off to the side. We'll go with the Redgrass because that was second, I think. So we'll open that up. Again, has not been touched since Monday. Oh, well, did I just jack that up when I moved it? I think so. This is still very wet. The paper is still very wet to the touch. You can see the water sloshing around in there. I think I made a mistake here, and when I moved something, it got touched. But that's still completely. Let's see. White is really good. Yellow is really good. It's not chunky. That wouldn't have changed when I did that. Black was still good. I'm surprised, because this is the one I've been having trouble with. But maybe the trouble I've been having is I'm not using the band in between. So, definitely like, so this one would last perfectly well if you just kept kind of sloshing in water around the edges. And I like the way it feels. It feels totally fine. But let me look at the sponge. Now I know paint got through there and it got on the edges, but I might be able to wring that out real quick. But that's still really wet. I'm impressed. Good job, Redgrass. And like I said, that's the one I've been having trouble with. But so far, it kind of held up the best. Now, Army Painter's last. And if you remember, right when I closed this up the other day, I had that problem with the paintbrush lid thing. So it was a little strange. I did end up cleaning it off. I cleaned it off. So let me open this up. And same thing. This feels better. I don't know. It feels wetter than the there's some chunk in the yellow. Kind of mad that got so messed up, but definitely let's say this. This is still really wet. And I know it got kind of messed up when that white is almost still perfect. Black is still perfect. Let me put these side by side. So, okay. I'm kind of at a loss here. So side by side, now that's kind of my fault. I think they both feel very similar wet style wise. I think I personally like the paper in the Army Painter one better. It feels thinner, and that's pretty obvious with the wrinkles. I just feel like you get a better transfer of water to that. Now this thing, I don't understand why they would put that way so it smashes the paint in. If they just made one with a seal that didn't have this, I don't think a lot of people would even use this anyway. But you have to use it to keep it sealed upright. And these lines may get in there and mess with your paint eventually. So I guess the verdict, I don't know. I didn't think it would be this difficult. So the verdict, I'd say it's going to come down. Forget the Mastersons. That's out. So that one, the yellow chunked up for sure. The yellow chunked up. Where did I put it? The yellow chunked up. And, I put it up here. I always forget things and lose them. The yellow chunked up. Let's just kind of look at them all together. The yellow chunked up. The black spread out. The white chunked up. The blue was still kind of okay, but the yellow for sure. This is definitely a lot drier. This paper did not transfer it well, and like I said, the fibers come off. So if you're gonna in the market for a wet palette, I would skip this. Even though I like the size of it, I would skip it. So let's put that down there. That one's out. So it comes down to these two, and I have a feeling it's going to be more of a personal preference thing. So Redgrass has these going for it, that clip on, like I said before, those clip on the side, and this one has the paintbrush holder, but it gets in the way of the paint. So I don't know if that's a plus or a minus. So it's going to come down to, I think, personal preference. The Army Painter, they're roughly the same size. This one's a little bigger, but Redgrass does sell the larger one. I think Army Painter kept it wetter, but because if I just go based on the white or the blue, definitely wetter on this side, but they're still usable. Absolutely still usable. And same thing, you could always just keep kind of sprinting paper in there. And if just by feel, I mean, they're almost... Army Painter is definitely a little more wet, but I think there's still the same amount of moisture in there. It's just the paper on the Army Painter one transfers that moisture a little better. And I think there was an update to the paper for Redgrass since the Kickstarter, so this may not be as a fair test. So, verdict for everyone is a tie. I think it comes down to personal preference, and I know that's a pretty crappy answer. I think I'm going to try using this one a little more the next few things I paint just to see if I like it better. I definitely like the way the paper feels better. In certain spots, the paper feels dry. Like right there, that feels dry. There's nowhere on here that it feels dry. This paper feels dry in spots. It just feels cold. But when you press on it, you get some of that moisture through there. Let me see if I can pour water out of this. Yeah, definitely. There's water that drips out still. This I'm going to kind of pour into there to get some of that color out. Okay, so yeah, I wish I wouldn't have got that messed up, man. But I don't. I mean, there's no. Is there any chunks? There's really no chunks in the yellow. There's a couple chunks here in this yellow, but I don't think that definitely dried out there a little bit. The red, blue. I don't think you could go wrong with either one. Um, I think definitely using the bands for both is a must when you're doing it because it helps that seal. And I think maybe I've just been lazy with the Redgrass Everlasting Wet Palette. But I'll put links to everything if you want to check them out on your own. Um, I bought all these myself. None of these came. So this is just a my money review. So I have no loyalty to anyone. Um, yeah, that's where we are. So wet palettes. One thing I can say about them is get one, regardless of what you end up deciding on. Again, Mastersons, no. The Mastersons one works great, I think, if you use parchment paper. So if you do get that one, I'm not even going to pull it out. Get the parchment paper and put that down instead of the paper that comes with it. It's fantastic. And maybe try and make your own and do it that way too with some parchment paper. But it did change my painting entirely, like drastically, from trying to use like just cardboard or plastic palettes. It's a lifesaver and a game changer, regardless of which one you get. But I would definitely say get a wet palette, try it out. If you like it, keep it. Don't throw money at it like I do. And I think I'm going to end up using both, maybe. One over here, one over there, for different colors. But, I mean, definitely you can see this one looks wetter. But I don't think I don't think you can go wrong with either one. Um, it's a tough call. It's a really tough call. So, yeah, that feels dry there, but the paint's still wet. So maybe that's the magic of the Everlasting Wet Palette. And it's the transfer between the paper and the sponge. The Army Painter one, you can feel the difference. It's just this weird thing, which, I don't know. Army Painter, answer me. Maybe I did something wrong if this is supposed to go that way. But really well done. Well, thanks for joining me. Another video coming soon. I'm waiting for something to come in the mail, and we'll talk about that when it gets here. But yeah, take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Change of plans. I'm back again. Just thought of something. As I took the paper off, I was like, hey, maybe see what the sponges look underneath. The blue bled through a little more on the Army Painter. The other colors, there's definitely more bleed through. You can see where the black was here, the red, and the yellow, I think. It's over there somewhere. No, the yellow, not so much. But you can see where the blue, the red, and the black were, for sure. This one, you really only see the blue. The edges are my fault for moving it. But that should tell you something, too. When you're moving it, you got to be careful. They say they're made to transport, but if you have water kind of sloshing around in there, it's going to kind of bleed your paints together. But I wanted you to see, and this one maybe it's not a little fair because I added some more water around the edges, but in the center, you can see the water still there. In this one, you can see the water still there as well. So they're both still really well. This one had a little more black come on the edges. The Masterson, we'll take that paper off. And I mean, this just feels completely different. Look at this was a brand new sponge. And look at the bleed through just from that black, from that one little drop of paint. Red, blue, yellow, you're not going to see. I mean, it feels like there's more water under there for sure. Which is one thing I was doing was taking this sponge and keeping it on here and using their paper to stay wetter. Which you could probably do if you wanted to just keep it. It's just kind of pointless at some point, but that's where it ended up. Again, I think your winner is definitely one of these two. That came through on the other side. This feels, they're both, I mean, again, can't go wrong. All right, I'll talk to you next time. See you later. I lied again. I just thought of something. So I decided to wring them out. and kind of clean them out real quick with some simple green, and then just to see what stain stayed. So this is Redgrass. Some of that blue and black stayed. I didn't squeeze them out too hard. They're just kind of damp now. But you still see some of the blue, some of the black. Nothing too bad. The Army Painter one stayed a lot but more in those spots. So keep that into consideration. You'll probably be replacing the sponge a little sooner. Surprisingly, the Mastersons one, most of that black came out, and there's a lot of black sitting underneath. But most of that came out. The red stain is still there a bit. But yeah, just for transparency, so everybody saw what happened with them afterwards. But there we are. Again, Army Painter, Redgrass. Probably can't go wrong. Might come down to price for people or availability. But yeah, I think I could use both. We'll see. Talk to you later.